We are going to record this session, and if you don't want to appear on the recording, you can turn off your camera. Also, please make sure that your mics are muted if you're not going to speak. We are here with co-chairs of this working group, Natalia Manola, who will present our draft document to you shortly. And also Clifford Tatum, Natalia Manola is from OpenAIRE, Clifford is from CWS in the Netherlands. And we also have Angeliki here, who will be helping us with Mentimeter, which we want to use for gathering your feedback, but we also want to hear from you. We are a small group today, as you can see. So if you want to speak, please just raise your hand, and we would prefer to have a conversation rather than a typing exercise. And we are recording the meeting for the note-taking purposes. Thanks, Maria. And Maria is, of course, our helper from earlier in this working group. So I guess that's all for the housekeeping. And if we have Angeliki with us, and I don't really see Angeliki, so then maybe I can ask you to yeah, you see that's already. Do we just skip the warming up? Do we just skip up the warming up exercise and go straight to your talk, Natalia? Because you're already sharing your slides. Okay. So maybe we'll do a warm up if Angeliki joins. Apologies for that. Some connection issues there.
Okay, so I think okay, when Iryna, when Angeliki pops up, let me know. Okay. Okay, so we had prepared a small warm-up, to see who you are and what are your interests, and probably Angeliki, when she joins, she will share with us in the chats, and she will, you can tell us some information. So today's webinar, what's about, okay? First is that to present the case of open infrastructures for responsible research assessment, to present the first deliverable of the working group that we have and I will present, and how to gather, your feedback and ideas on how to gather more feedback. So I will not go into very much detail into the CoARA vision and why we are all here, but I will just touch upon key issues here is, recognizing diverse outputs, practices and activities, qualitative judgment, peer review is central, and then it's the responsible use of quantitative indicators. Those are the key things that, we started as in CoARA and we are keep on. Our working groups, which is an open infrastructures for responsible research assessment, OI4RRA for short, is that, we have the following mission is how to move from proprietary infrastructure to open infrastructure, and I will present the why. And then how to take the wide range of research outputs in open science, the diversity of research community, different domains, different ages, on how to use these open infrastructures and build them in such a way that they take all of this into account. We have 80 members from 43 organizations, and as Iryna said, I'm chairing, and together with Clifford Tatum from CWTS. Now, what are our working group's outputs? So we aim to have 5 outputs. The first one is what we will be describing today, the principles and characteristics of open infrastructure fit for RRA, case studies of institutions transitioning to OEA because we know it's happening, interviews to find out the barriers and perhaps the enablers, not just the barriers, so if we don't want to be negative. And then the last 2 outputs are mainly about how we're trying to see how the different open infrastructures and the layers fit together, and what could be the tooling in order to see, and guide people to adopt this open infrastructure. So if you see, these five outcomes, I think we are in a very good shape in the first three. We will be presenting the first three, and we are ready to put out in about a month number 4. So then we work with Graspo's Horizon Europe project about, the specifications of how we can present this open infrastructure in a better way. So this is, after a year and a few months of work, we are happy to say that, we will be able to deliver one after the other, the things. How, just to give you an idea how we have shaped our work within the working group, we have 2 subgroups overlapping people in both. So the first one is to unveil the social motives behind transitioning from closed infrastructures to open infrastructure. And our target groups are the people who in the research, performing and funding organizations will take this decision. And then again, we don't believe, being, with a reality check that this is going to happen from one day to the other, having a switch going from closed to open. But what we hope is that we're going to have this transition period where many universities will adopt both solutions, and we will be able to support the open infrastructures into delivering what it needs to be delivered. And Iryna Kuchma from EIFL is leading this the first subgroup. The second subgroup is, most about the co-development and co-investment of open infrastructure for RRA. So what we are aiming there is to have, some output. So for research executives or administrators to understand how these different components of the open infrastructures fit together. For example, if in my university I have a repository, a Diamond Open Access Journal, a CRIS system, I'm paying for DOIs, how does this, I'm paying for evaluation services, how do they all fit together? And where do the investments and co-development can take place? So today we're going to be talking about the first deliverable, the first output of this subgroup. So before I go into this, into the deliverable, let me build the case of for the open infrastructures for RRA and why. So what we see here that there is a paradox, okay, and we all know that this is taking place. We invest in open infrastructure for research, and this is the number from 2022 from the EOSC Observatory. So Europe is investing €500 million in open infrastructures, whatever these may call. But then when it comes to evaluate research, okay, we rely on closed systems and we pay a lot. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the number is, but each of you know that as a country or as institutions we are paying a lot. So how can we break that? Why do we need to break that? Because the emerging research environment is that it's data driven, it's open science, it's multidisciplinary. We have a lot of AI at the forefront, okay, and everything is interconnected. So we're talking about the system that we talk about: publications, data, software, organizations, people, impact, services, tooling, what they do, policy, how they contribute to policies, how they contribute to economics, and we rely still on assessing researchers and research institutions based on the proprietary databases on impact citation mainly, and this has to stop. So what we can do and the way we can move forward is that since we are investing on all of these open infrastructures, how can we also turn them into providing these monitoring and tracking systems that we all seek? Okay. If we rely on the closed proprietary systems, we will stick to this journal and conference and textual output that has been there for ages, and not a lot of opportunities to move away. So Open infrastructures. Okay, what do we, what do they have? We have research diversity. So open infrastructures now, they have moved to data software models methods. They are community centered because, most of them are funded by public organizations and, most of them are member organizations. So they are very well embedded to the community. At least for the European Open Science Cloud, we know that interoperability is key. So whatever we're building, it has to be interoperable with, with what is happening in open science. These open infrastructures, they rely on existing institutional investments and infrastructures. So that means is that, all together, we can make them more cost efficiently. Then the key thing here is that, what we need to think upon. So some of the things we are all doing, the open infrastructures are all doing together. What is missing is, ensuring fair, inclusive access for all stakeholders around the world. And this is very, this is very key. Sustainability, built with open standards to ensure long-term usability. So this is something that open infrastructures do, but then, where does the funding come from? And also it's the global collaboration, because we can't build an infrastructure in Europe, not being connected to something in Asia or Australia or Africa or Latin America or the Americas. And this is something, those things are super important. Okay, but open infrastructures, I think we're happy to say that, they tick all of these boxes. So now this is what we're building, and how are we currently assessing research? I'm just going to say a few things. That we use a closed proprietary system, restricted access, siloed information, opaque processes, vendor lock-in, and a lot of money. And the focus is on metrics. Not a lot of room to move beyond the traditional metrics. So this is this is what I presented. What we're spending on open infrastructures, how we are doing assessment. So the key thing here is how to turn these open infrastructures that we're building for open science to also participate in these assessment exercises. So what do we need to do now? So, it's about navigating the roadblocks. Are we there yet? I think we are, and we are getting there. But there are challenges in sustaining, scaling, and adopting these open infrastructures for research assessment. Cultural reasons, technical complexity, sustainable funding, quality and trust, resistance to change. This is the cultural thing. So there are all of these issues, and I think we were very happy to have that CoARA and other initiatives. We are all jointly moving to this, to address all of these issues and say, what comes next. So now our work. So this was the why the open infrastructures, why we believe in open infrastructures as the way to the future. And now these principles and characteristics that we have been working for the past year. So what we need to do is, critical role. I will not go again on that. But the characteristics of open infrastructures, and it's not. There are two goals here. First is to reach to the quality of, perhaps the quality, because this is not always the case, of the proprietary systems that we have now, but also to surpass the capabilities of these systems. Why? Because as I explained, is we're going into a new area of open and data science, data intensive science. We're in this area of the globalization, which we hope will continue. And so what are the essential characteristics that will get us to that point and also surpass? Why surpass? Because we're looking into a sustainable future. Okay, so there is the Zenodo link for the report that we want your feedback on, and I will just go on a few on how we have approached it. First, methodologically, we looked into the existing initiatives out there. So we did not start from scratch. We the principles of open scholarly infrastructure, the Forest Framework, the Barcelona Declaration on Open Research Information. So these are all initiatives are aiming at how can we have open and sustainable infrastructure and research information. We did a comparison, so we saw that all of these and plus the UNESCO principles and EU work and all of these other and EOSC also, what they talk about is these key characteristics: community governance, openness and transparency, sustainability, inclusion and diversity, fair and reproducibility, equity, innovation and adaptation in some form or the other. So we took this and then, we had some key principles, and then we turned these principles into the characteristics of what we think. Okay. So what we did is we had 4 major pillars, okay, core principles of open in 4 pillars. First, I will start by showing this is the order that we will change this diagram. First, we're talking about technical robustness, because open infrastructures that should be used for research assessment, they should have a technical robustness and quality of data and all of this. Second, it should be operational capacity. Okay, I'm building an open infrastructure, but I can't really, promise the person who is doing the research assessment that it's going to be there 24/7, for example. Then is the community-centered practices. It has to be anchored into the community in order for this open infrastructure to be relevant and to maintain, and to be, relevant in the future. And also the ethical and inclusive practices. We're talking about open science, we're talking about AI, so we cannot really discuss about open infrastructure for responsible research assessment where people's careers, where institutional funding, where things are, depending upon. So we need to discuss all of these issues. Okay. I will just go briefly over the technical, the characteristics pillar by pillar. So in the first pillar, we have produced what we say is that, what are the characteristics if I want to use an open infrastructure to get metrics, indicators, practices, whatever, comes with this, what do I have to do? First of all, data integrity, okay? That open infrastructure has to somehow make sure that there's accuracy, consistency, coverage, and that reliability and trustworthiness. We need to have data that we can trust. Second is that we need to have data that we know where it comes from and that we can reproduce at any point in time. I don't want to go to a research to an open infrastructure and get a metric now and then come after a year and see that this metric has changed because something in the algorithm, something in the data set has changed. So it needs to be very, it needs to be assured. Interoperability. So when we're building open infrastructures, we know that things are, are fluid and they are merging. So we need to make sure that we use open standards. We need to use these in order to interoperate with institutional infrastructures. And we need to make sure that, everything is well connected. Then we talk about infrastructure resilience, scalability, and performance. Okay, this is we have put this in the technical robustness. Why? Because this is also in the operational. But when we are building these open infrastructures, we have to have these mechanisms in place, technological mechanism in place that we can ensure that this infrastructure is resilient. Okay, that it's scalable. We talk about millions of records with billions of relationships. Okay, and that means is that we have to make sure that the technology behind it, and it's not cheap, is there, and in place, and that it can work in any case. Then what we need to think is that how can we make these open infrastructures flexible so that they can embed and integrate innovative ways of weighing, the metrics, the indicators, the new forms of scholarly communications, the new forms, new formats of practices. So we're talking about, explainable artificial intelligence, intelligence. We're talking about open, of course, and open natural language processing, because we now nowadays with AI and all these OpenAI and ChatGPT and everything that goes around, is that it's very much embedded. So we need to have, a reassurance that there is a technical robustness. Okay, this is number one. Then in the operational capacity, so when we operate them, okay, we build it, okay, we make sure, but then we operate it. This is a different beast, okay? So we need to have, these open documentation, inclusivity in research output and coverage, because yes, you can have an aggregator, for example, or you can have an index, but does it have a good coverage? And then what is very key to this is this context-aware and balanced assessment, because what we know is that these technical infrastructures and the data that is coming in and out, they have to make sure that we have the local languages, assessment scenarios, quantitative evidence, and then how can they adapt. Fourth is about operational efficiency, so automation, user-friendly interfaces. It has to be easy for everyone to use. And then last but not least, we understand that in order for these open infrastructures for RRA to operate, we need skilled, not only personnel that will operate them, but also skilled users. Okay, so this is something that we need to work on. The third pillar is the community-centered practices. So we talk about the collaborative participatory governance. Okay, this is very central, because we do not want to yet again move into something that doesn't fit the community. Inclusive decision making from all, transparent policies and community oversight, so it stays relevant. Stakeholder involvement, these open infrastructures, they should have the mechanisms in order to get feedback and for co-creation, for co-design processes, and it's relevant. Equity, accessibility, and a diverse representation. So who do you reach out to? You don't only reach out to the funders or the executive or the researchers or the domain X, but you reach out to everyone. So this is something, especially for this contextual adaptability, to have a very good and diverse representation. And then, of course, resilience, sustainability, a community-centered, that means is that, the community is in charge, and, we're looking for funding models, long-term planning, and independent operations. And last but not least is the ethical and inclusive practices. So what we have identified is 4 key characteristics. First is fair, not in the fair, findable, accessible, but in fair in the AI part, is fair, responsible, transparent research assessment. Even though the open infrastructure will not do the assessment, but it's going to be used for the assessment, we need to think, we need to consider how this open infrastructure brings transparency in the metrics or indicators, to contextualize, the various evaluations. So to give the context, and this is related also to the data provenance and to the documentation, how we are doing this traceability, accountability, and all the rest. So we have identified key characteristics, and we have listed them. Second is secure and ethical data management. So compliance with regulations, GDPR, EU AI Act, and the rest. To identity protection through anonymization and aggregation. And then, of course, how can we have role-based access and security control, especially when open infrastructures provide services to institutions, to funders, to researchers. Third is the technology use. We discussed about the technology robustness, but then, there is technology and technology. There is technology that can be, perceived and received as black boxes, but there is a technology that we need to see how it works, and especially with AI. So what we discussed here is transparent and explainable decision making, ethical audits, and bias mitigation reviews. This is coming in the industry. So I think, open infrastructures, we should embrace them early on. Stakeholder feedback and redress mechanisms, and of course, the human in the loop, the human oversight in AI-driven action decisions. We do not take. We should not take the information at face value. Then the ethical neutrality and fair responsibility. So when we operate, is impartiality in operations. We don't favor anyone. Promotion of fair practices, and again, accountability and ethical oversight. So these are the things, and I'm finishing here the presentation. Let me go back now. Okay, the call to action. What do we need is that, your input on the policy report. So the policy report is now in Zenodo, and we have, Angeliki will explain more on this information. The evaluation form available at this site. We will share the slides with all of you and with the community, and Angeliki will give us when the deadline is. Just to finish saying is that after this first consultation, we will revise the document and we will propose it to the community and to the CoARA community and to the community around the world. But also, what comes after that is that we will turn these characteristics into I don't know if it's the word actionable, but into a checking list. So to give a toolkit to research managers, administrators, or whoever is taking decisions, in order to say, does this open infrastructure I want to use, which of these characteristics does it fit? And also, I think this would be also the checklist good for open infrastructure builders and operators in order to see how they address some of this stuff. I think I will, let me go back to the Zoom so I can see. I don't know if Angeliki is here.
Yes, she's back.
Okay.
I managed.
Okay, okay, good, great.
I'm very sorry about that. Technology was not on my side on this, but I am here now. So thank you so much, Natalia, for the comprehensive presentation and everyone for joining us. So I suppose we haven't yet done the Mentimeter, right? So you were waiting for.
Angeliki, I have the Mentimeter. So how do we do the dialogue now? Because it's a Q&A. So how do we do that?
So let's start maybe with questions.
Yes.
Does anyone have any immediate questions to what Natalia presented? And if you have a question, please raise your hand if you want to ask it, or type it in the chat. Any immediate questions on what Natalia presented to us today?
If there are no immediate questions, we can slowly go to the Menti. So you can either go to menti.com or scan the QR with your phone. And I will, thank you, Iryna, for posting the code into the chat box.
So I stop sharing, Angeliki, right?
Yes, thank you, Natalia. Then I can share my screen.
Now I want to hear from you. And maybe if you could tell us a little bit who you are. What is in the chat if you want to copy it, or you can scan the QR code on Angeliki's slide.
I suppose you can see my
yes, we can see your slide with the instructions, and people joining Menti for people.
So I see we have 4 people have joined. We can just wait a couple of more seconds and then
we just go to your question.
So everyone had the time to scan the QR code? Okay.
There is, it's also menti.com and
Nice.
a code is in the chat. So the first question
So
is, how
very relaxed.
are you feeling today?
Quite relaxed, and then we can go to the very, very ready to revolutionize research assessment, I see.
Who are you? Speak up.
Yeah, still need some more time for the coffee to kick in. I like that we don't have anyone that is reviewing or like they feel stuck in this never-ending review cycle, which is a good thing, I suppose. Open science memes, I see. More for this. We should have put more efforts for the memes. Okay. So I go to the next question, Iryna.
Thank you. We also want to understand a little bit who you are, and if you could select a role that best corresponds to what you do. I know that many of us have many roles, so maybe just pick your major one. So it's good to see representatives of universities, research institutions, also non-profit organizations, open science initiatives, industry, private sector, excellent. We also have a couple of others. Maybe if you don't mind writing in the chat who you are, what kind of other you are. Yeah, excellent. Thanks a lot.
I cannot see the chat, Iryna. Do we have someone?
No one.
Not yet. Okay. Nice. A lot of research institutions.
Library. Okay. Yeah, I guess we met the library on the university research institution, but next time we'll be more careful to add library as a category. Thank you, Natasha, for writing that.
Nice.
And that's the last warm-up questions that we have, and then we'll start a serious conversation. So maybe if you could also identify, and here we do have a librarian. So whether you are a researcher, faculty representative, or research administrator, policymaker, funder, or maybe you are representing a government agency for assessment, or if you're a librarian or data steward, or if you are advocate, community builder, so I guess most people are from faculty and researchers, and then librarian data stewards. That's excellent. We also have some again some others, maybe open access editor. Good, thanks for joining. And if you're selecting other, maybe also write in the chat open science manager. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good mix of people. So we're very much looking forward to your feedback on the document.
And so I'm moving to the actual.
Yeah, and now is a real part.
The real part.
So
Yeah.
that was a fun part. So we prepared some questions for you, and if you want, you can type, or we would rather prefer if you would speak. So you can raise your hand and speak. The first question is, what is the biggest barrier for you to making open infrastructures fit for responsible research assessment? What do you see among the barriers? And here we selected the largest one, just one, but there are many of them. Building trust. Thank you. Reliability. Thanks. Integration with Greece systems. Yeah, that's a practical challenge. Data coverage compared to proprietary options. Trust again. Yeah, couldn't be overemphasized. Decision makers do not want to change their long-term practices. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, very true. Thanks a lot for sharing that. Quality of metadata, key to get insights from the data, curation processes. So that's something that open infrastructure still need to present better. Financial sustainability, dependency on commercial proprietary systems, absence of understanding, national policies rely on Scopus and Web of Science. Thanks a lot for writing all that. It's okay, maybe you can go to the main screen, like the one where we had all. So maybe close.
Nice.
Thanks a lot for sharing that, and we'll make sure that it's included in other documents that we're preparing, because now we are writing a report based on series of interviews, and we'll probably include some parts from today's conversation in the document as well. Then maybe we can go to the next question. Thanks, Angeliki. The next one is about your organizations and what is the importance of transition into open infrastructures for responsible research assessment in your organization. And we just selected the scale. It's essential, very important. We're working on it. Could be important, but not there yet, and not a priority. Yeah, and unfortunately, for some, it's not a priority. It's good to see that some people are working. Thanks for writing in the chat that it's essential. Thanks, Ilaria. And also for some, it's very important. Could be important, but not there yet. So I guess for most people, it's still in the progress. You're still working on making it a priority.
I was wondering, Iryna, and if, because it's interesting to see like people are working on it, like the different responses, and I was wondering about the response not a priority. Is this because it's not a priority due to like financial sustainability issues, or because of like I was wondering what kind of like let's say rationale is behind this. I'm not sure if the person who voted for that would like to speak up or give some more information, or maybe later. But I was just wondering in which stage they are and how they evaluate and how they assess this. Not that it should be a priority, but coming from CoARA and working also through the interviews, I know how it takes a lot of time, and how like there are many barriers and technological, socioeconomic. So is this related to this, or maybe to other issues?
Maybe if you can speak up or write in the chat why.
If they don't feel comfortable, it's fine. It's just
why it's not a priority, and also maybe on the other end, like Ilaria wrote that it's essential. Some people also mentioned that it's essential, maybe if you can tell from which institution you are and how you managed to convince to make open infrastructures essential, because it would be also good to hear from you and use your example as an aspiration for others.
Maybe later into the... Oh, we have Alessia.
Thanks,
saying that
Alessia, for sharing.
She says, in my opinion, it is essential. For my organization, it is not. It is still hard to make them understand that research data counts. Yeah, I totally see and understand that. Also difficult to convince the people high up in the ladder for change. But oh, and I see thumbs up and
And
more
some
people agree with
pluses.
that.
I didn't even know that Zoom has plus functionality. New to me.
Yes.
So maybe we can go to the next question. You saw in Natalia's presentation some quality elements that we included in our principles and framework document. And we would like to double check with you whether we included all important quality elements. So when you think about quality of open infrastructures for responsible research assessment, what is that quality element aspect is? So I guess it overlaps a bit with various where we were speaking about trust, comprehensiveness, ability to interact with it. Any other thoughts just for us to double check that we've included that quality element? Thanks a lot. Good metadata, usability, unique persistent identifiers, relationships, free to use, interoperability, reproducibility, coverage, quality, trust, community governance. Excellent. Thanks a lot. I think we have all that in the document, but we'll double check. That's very useful. Thank you so much.
Can I just say, Iryna, something? Because I see this free to use, and I'm wondering, free to use in terms of financial like capability, like free of charge or open? Because there is also this discussion that like open doesn't mean that it should be for free. With regards to sustainability, how do you sustain the infrastructure then? So it should be community governed, but so any thoughts about that?
I guess it's different because openness is mentioned as another element. So I guess it's really about
the financial
being able to use it without pain.
If I may say something here, I think, you know, for researchers, most likely it should be free to use. For institutions, they need to think about, you know, if it's free to use, or, you know, for them, then who should pay? So maybe one of the, if it's free to use, which is really nice because, you know, as researchers, we all thrive for it. But then, you know, the question is who pays? So if anyone has ideas on who should pay, you can put it in the chat.
We have interoperability as the most important quality element, which is also related to metadata, good metadata, which we have like 3 or 4 times. So that again couldn't be overemphasized. And then reproducibility, usability, free to use, reliability, quality, transparency, sustainability, community. All excellent points. Thank you so much. Maybe we can go to the next question. And this is also for the most motivational part of our work, for the report and other documents that we are writing. What do you think would help your organization move towards adopting open infrastructures for responsible research assessment, and why that particular thing would help you to move forward? And thank you, Biljana, for sharing your thoughts about financials. Biljana is writing, the bill must be paid by the one who will use the data, funders and universities. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And thanks a lot for responding to Angeliki's question. So I see pilots with realistic scenarios. So I think that's something that we already seen and we will be describing as part of our working group. Culture change first. Again, we're trying to capture some real case scenarios where this culture change is happening, but I guess it will take some time. International policy support. Maybe if you can mention in the chat or if you want to speak, because you are writing and just us are speaking, but we would really like you to speak as well. So maybe if you would like to speak, please raise your hand. So you're writing international policy support. Julia, please. Thank you.
Yes, about these international policies, I say that because when I was the president of the European Council of Doctoral and Junior Researchers, doctoral candidates and junior researchers, this was the biggest worry. The fact that if there is not a cultural change, but even more, it's like about policy. It was hard for the researchers to think about where to go in terms of where they can send a request to be part of the university, where they can do the career progress. If there was a lot of difference between universities. So at least this was my 2 cents. So they had the difficulties in the mobility process and career progression if there was not enough flexibility between the systems.
So I guess it's a little bit of both international policies and also alignment of policies across Europe or globally. And when you say international policies, whom do you mean? European Commission or European funders, UNESCO, anyone else?
I was part of the Marie Curie Alumni Association, in which we have the mobility between Europe and outside Europe. So, for example, this was a concern issue for those researchers who were moving to Europe with a system. Like, for example, I think that in the Netherlands, they are more advanced in terms of open science culture, whereas if they had to go back to their university in another country, for example, in India or in Asia or in other part of the US, there was not the same system. So probably the advanced they were doing in a system in a country, it would not be the same in another country. So that could be a challenge for a grant that is just for 2 years, for example.
Thanks a lot for sharing that. And we also have showcase that open infrastructures can do the analysis, which is the same as with closed systems and even more with the same level of trust. So I guess that's maybe something to add to the agenda of our working group. Change rules in research assessment. We are here in the CoARA context, so let's hope that this change is already happening. broad community adoption of open infrastructures, comparison between the coverage of open and closed system plus pros and cons. So I guess we're trying to address some pros and cons in this framework and principles document. We will also address them in the report that we will write based on the interviews that we conducted. We're not doing an actual comparison because also to do a comparison, you like really need to have specific use cases, and you need to understand like what is your specific use case, what do you want these infrastructures do, but maybe with a checklist that we create, we can help you to do that comparison. And I also know that our colleagues in the Netherlands are creating a list of use cases now, like what research managers, data librarians, other actors would like to do with infrastructures for research assessment, and whether those functions, those activities could be performed with open infrastructures. The existing databases are very expensive, so if open infrastructures are less expensive, that would be a benefit, and show the same quality, more coverage. That would be a good motivation. For sure, they are much less expensive. Anyone would like to comment on what you see on the screen, or maybe if you haven't typed your perspective yet, maybe you can speak up, because I'm really worried that everyone is so silent.
I think maybe Iryna, we can continue a bit
Mm-hmm.
and we can have a conversation in the next questions, like because we have like a few more. What do you think? Or maybe
Yeah,
Natalia wants to say something. So
let's maybe
yeah.
go to the next one, so that people who are very good in typing, thanks a lot for that, maybe could start typing. Now we would like to ask you about the gaps, and we mean gaps in our today's conversation, in Natalia's presentation, in if you had a chance to have a look at our document, whether there are any gaps in that document, whether there is something important that hasn't been addressed yet. What are the things related to open infrastructures for responsible research assessment that we're not talking about yet? Alessia, please.
Hi, everyone. I would like to ask Natalia if she can elaborate maybe a little bit what she thinks about additional indicators that can be included, in open research information and open infrastructure, because I think it's very difficult or even impossible for a commission to evaluate thousands of researchers for the progress of their career by peer reviewing everything that they have done. So how can the open infrastructure support this process?
I mean, it's a good question. Not sure, the answers are there, but now as we're turning to the peer review, more qualitative, evaluation, and maybe Clifford can say something on this also. I think the open infrastructures, as we know them now, let's say Scopus, Web of Science, and the new open infrastructures that are emerging, we focus a lot on numbers. We focus a lot on metrics. And what I think is that these metrics or indicators will be only supportive evidence, okay? This is what we said about the context awareness. So I think they can set up a bit of, to support the context of the evaluation. But if you think about the evaluation from beginning to end, is that an organization, I think, should set their objectives. What are the objectives of the evaluation at institutional researcher level? So what do they want to achieve? They need to turn these objectives into the evaluation framework, and then the indicators, they can only support them. For example, so if I'm running a data institute, and I think that data science, or how I am curating my data, how I'm sharing the data, if I have contribution with my data, or with my algorithms in something that makes sense, this should also count, okay? And this should also count not as numbers, but as a supportive element to the peer review, okay? And we can only hope to make the peer review faster, or to have some shortcuts to the peer review. That's how I think it is. Also, the other thing that with open infrastructures that we have the ability to capture, I think it's the practices, because many of the practices do not lead to the traditional research outcomes. Okay, so I am engaging with citizen science. I'm having an input or an impact to a policy in my region, or global, or whatever that makes sense. I'm a researcher, and I have a lab, and then I'm turning my things through my through patents and through technology transfer or other mechanisms, not just patents, to something innovative. Okay, so how does this translate? So this is, I think, Alessia, I don't know if I have responded. So, maybe Clifford can take up. But the way we think the open infrastructures is that they have the ability to increase their coverage beyond the traditional research outputs, but also beyond research outputs, to have very good data to produce indicators, at least transparent data to produce indicators, and then capture all the rest to support the evidence. Clifford, maybe you want to say something on this?
Yeah, thanks. I think Natalia described it well. I'll add a dimension, which is the move towards value-based assessment. So that's a kind of qualitative input rather than output on behalf of institutions. So the idea of being able to evaluate or measure on the base of the values, your institutional values. Metrics and indicators aren't going to go away, but I think the distinction here is, from my standpoint, is why are you evaluating, and at what level of aggregation, and in what context, and that will help decide on a suitable approach to assessment. In some cases, especially at the individual level, indicators should probably play less of a role if you are interested as an institution in a formative approach, which is to think about, use what has been achieved in the past, but think about how can we structure and identify the future. How can we develop researchers rather than just measure them. So I think it's a sort of a different paradigm in some cases. But nevertheless, the open infrastructures for research assessment, the way we're describing here, are meant to be able to accommodate those changes in kinds of information you would include in an assessment.
Exactly. I think, Alessia, is that to recap what Clifford said, is that there are we are progressing into different evaluation scenario or paradigm, but The open infrastructures are there to give the evidence, okay, and to contextualize the evidence. I think, you know, this is important. It's not just plain numbers, right? It's just, you know, things. But then I want to talk to the person who said, you know, I'd like to see a single group, CoARA Dory, a single group between who, you know, so we have the open research infrastructures or Dory. What is this? I'm not sure I understand.
I guess it's San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment. And I was thinking that maybe we should specifically reach out to them, show our document, ask whether they have any work around open infrastructures. I'm not really aware of any, but maybe just our limitation. So it's very good point. Thanks for raising that, and we'll make sure that we talk to them.
Okay.
And on the checklists, Angeliki started drafting them, and she even has two types of checklists structured differently. But we thought that let's maybe first hear your feedback on the document itself, and when the document is finalized, then we can produce checklists. Skills problem barrier to entry using open infrastructure systems. That's a huge issue. Thanks a lot for sharing that. And thanks a lot for spending this hour with us. It was very, very useful for us. Thank you so much. We hope that it was also useful for you. If you still have some time, we would very much appreciate if you could also give us feedback on the document, and I'll drop again a link to the evaluation form. So maybe we don't need to go to this level of details now, Angeliki.
Sorry, I am still experiencing some issues with network, so I didn't hear the. So you said we shouldn't go into the details?
Yeah, I don't know whether
okay.
to go to this level of details now.
I think this is something that we would like you to go. You know, these kinds of questions, simple questions, yes, no, and a few comments. If you go into the form that we request your feedback, it shouldn't take, you know, just go through the document and just tell us, you know, the very things that we haven't really touched upon, or if we're missing some context, or, you know, the form is really simple. So we would really, really appreciate it if you give us your comments, your feedback.
Definitely. And with that, I would like to remind that the consultation is open until the 14th of March. And we would appreciate if you can provide feedback by then. Yeah, we can send also a reminder for you, because I know you're all very busy. But yeah, thank you for being here. And apologies for my network connection problems. Usually I have no problems. Today I needed the connection I had. But thank you for the help, Iryna and everyone.
Thanks a lot, Angeliki, Maria, Natalia, for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. If you still want to discuss something with us, you can stay and discuss. But otherwise, I think we can wrap up this meeting. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And thanks for all your feedback. Very useful. Thank you. Bye. There is a question whether we plan to share slides.
Yes.
I think we can upload them on the working group page, right?
I'm not sure.
We can't. Maybe we can upload them on Zenodo and put a link to the working group page where we announce this event.
Maria, can you tell us how to do that? You know, offline. Maybe we can do it offline, where we can how we can share the slides.
Well, I have the email of the participants, so I can respond, like share it with them. Because I just sent them a reminder today, so I can just use the same
So-
thread.
Okay, let's take it offline, but we would like to see it, posted in the website. Okay.
Because I thought maybe after those events we can rewrite the announcement, because now we have it as announcement and we can rewrite it, changing like slides from this event available here. And
Yeah.
Eleonora.
We can add it to the blog post that is up on the CoARA website. So I can share it with the communications team, and it can be on the CoARA website where the information about the sessions are right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thanks again. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.